guys, this is the Kids Comic Panel for North Carolina Comicon, and I am your host, Elizabeth. This is Zach, and who we have today are four very wonderful comic artists. Ross Richie, Jeremy Whitley, Chris Giarrusso, and Mettam. They are going to give you their own bio. So we'll start from here, and we're going down.
Okay, so which one? I'm Chris Giarrusso. All right, so let me just go ahead and, oh, good, that's right here. I'm the writer and artist of G-Man, which is a comic about a bunch of kids superheroes. And next we got Dale.
Yes, that's me. I recently wrote Young Test, Inspector Gadget comic books, completely original stories.
And Jeremy.
I'm Jeremy. I write Princeless. It's my original series. The Princess says to save herself.
Recent Eisner nominee, Jeremy. And we've got Mr. Ross Richie.
My name is Ross, and my company is KABOOM, and we have an all-ages imprint called KABOOM, and I'm the publisher guy, so it's my fault.
And I've got two slides here of some of their different books. There's Adventure Time.
Adventure Time, we do Peanuts, Garfield, we also do, that is the amazing Roger Langridge, who did Snarked, Garfield, he's looking very upset, and Peanuts.
And okay, that's from there. We'll just
as I like to say, it beats work.
And we're going to just have some general discussion here and with some Q&A and some recommendations of some great all-ages comics you can find in print and online.
Right. So what I want to talk about first, and you guys can all weigh in on this, I guess the importance of kids as a demographic for comics, like how that affects them when they're kids, how they grow up and how they do comics. You guys can kind of go on that?
I think I missed the first part of it.
Yep. Okay. The importance of kids as a demographic for comics in general, and how if they start as kids, how it impacts them.
I think reading is reading. So the sooner you're reading anything, the sooner you'll be smarter and better than everybody else. You know, I grew up reading comic books, being told that comics were for the lazy and dumb kids, but at the same time, all the kids that I knew reading comic books got straight A's in school. So I think it's good for kids to read comics, and it's probably important for the industry for the audience to be replenished, which it hasn't really been doing in the last 20 years so well. So it's nice to see a resurgence and more comics.
I think the battle for so long with comic books was to try to say that the material is not defined by the age group, but that you could create more mature content that could do more serious stories. And so during the 80s in particular, we saw a real explosion of material that was targeted towards adults. And as that group aged, the content aged with them. And so through that process of the past 20 to 30 years, it's like we have stopped creating material back in the 60s and the 70s. Comics were targeted to a younger audience. And so I think what's happening now is we're swinging back and we're replenishing material for kids. And I know that I grew up, the first issue of a comic book that I read, I was 6 years old, and I immediately fell in love with the medium. And perhaps I'm not a good example of the way that everyone should go because I'm a little weird. But but I think it's really important for kids to read comics. I think just like Chris is saying, it builds vocabulary. I know that I always was able to do well on vocabulary in school. My parents would ask me where I got those words from, and I would say things like Fantastic Four, and they didn't believe me because they didn't think that comic books were that literate. But to me, it's like if we're going to have the next generation of comic book readers, we need to engage them when they're younger. And I think what's really exciting about the kind of content that's being done right now is that adults can read it and kids can read it, and it's truly all ages skewing. And you know, it's really a lot of fun and an exciting time to be doing this kind of content.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake people make when they think of kids' comics as
it's age appropriate, but still, you just tell a story, tell the kind of story you would want to be told, tell the kind of story you would want, your kids to read, which is very much what I did. That, the audience is there, the audience does find it, and I think, especially if you stick with that kind of comics is unique in that it does all ages, whereas most publishing really breaks it down. But all ages is a thing. Like I've had as many people come up and as many dads have come up to my table and said, "Oh, I really loved your book," as I have, their daughters. So
That kind of small from giving that to office show.
All right, fair enough. Okay, what do you guys think? Do you guys think like all the movies created around comic books are pushing kids to wait more for the movies to come out, or pushing them more to read comics?
Well, I think there's no question that there's more than familiarity. I mean, did the general public know who a character like Thor was before the movies came out? But at the same time, I think that you'll see things like Walking Dead, where it's very easy to access with the first trade paperback the series, where I think the challenge for Marvel and DC is that they have an aging, sophisticated readership who want more sophisticated storytelling. And it's harder to create publishing where it's like, all you need to know about Thor is you just need to buy this one trade paperback that's only $10, the way they have it like with Walking Dead. And so I think that's something as in publishing that we'll need to solve as the business gets older, which is how to transition all these people that are experiencing these big franchises into migrating them over into comic books. Again, I think Walking Dead is doing it really well right now, and I think you see this real surge. I was in a comic book store, and a woman walked in, and I've been reading comics since I was 6. I could kind of tell that she didn't know the lay of the land, and I thought to myself, this could be her first comic book. And sure enough, she walked over and said, "Where's the Walking Dead trade paperbacks?" And the clerk said, "They're right here. The first one's $10." She said, "Give me the first 2." And then he said, "Well, some of the characters are dead in the graphic novel, they're alive in the TV show, and vice versa." And she said, "Well, that makes it more interesting." And bought the books and left, and I thought, wow, that's the beginning of the comic book reader. And so I think it's difficult and challenging to, with these big companies like Marvel and DC, where they have so many different Iron Man series. How do you get readers to start at a certain place? How do you make all that match up and work? I know that a lot of people like to say, that they're stupid, they're messing it up on purpose, but it's truth matters, it's hard to do. And I think we're at this really exciting juncture, and especially with a company like Marvel owned by Disney, they'll figure it out. But it'll be cool when they do it.
What's interesting though, like Marvel and DC both, my local shop, I go in every Wednesday, and I'll hang out and chat with other guys, and there will always be, a parent comes in with their kids and say, "Okay, my kids really love the Avengers movie. What's the comic for them?" And the thing is, you can't actually give them the physical Avengers comic that's really published because there's a lot of violence and darkness and complicated stuff. It's really interesting how many of the all ages versions of the characters they've done in Marvel and DC, based on the current cartoons or the whole Marvel Adventures line really for a long time, because I think there's going to be a lot of kids who grow up, that's their first version of the characters, that'll be the stories they remember, and that will influence them.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was Spidey
Super Stories,
yeah.
like their content.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Marvel's done a good job that they have the Ultimate Spider-Man that goes along with the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show as well, where they do sort of short one-offs that you can pick up and read really any of those issues and just jump into it.
Well, the best Batman book in the 1990s was the Batman Adventures, tying into Batman the Animated Series. And that was so good they actually wound up bringing characters like Harley Quinn, great for the TV show, into the main comics. It was just such a great classic storytelling.
Now, why kids comics? Why only do kids comics?
I don't think it's comics. I think all ages is more appropriate because I didn't sit down to write Johnny Test for kids because essentially Johnny Test, and I use that as opposed to Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget has a completely different audience. Almost everyone who's got Inspector Gadget that I've actually seen has been a parent
who's kind of coming on the, oh, I remember this, I'm gonna buy this. Whereas Johnny Test is more current with kids today. That, you know, you watch it, there were throwaway gags in there that are clearly there for the adults who are sitting there with the kids watching the show. So if I don't engage those people as well, because, you know, realistically they're going to pick up a book. And even if they don't pick up a book for their own reading pleasure, they're going to back it for the kids. So, you know, I want to write something that is completely all age and not kids.
That's interesting things like Adventure Time, you know, it's like, that is incredibly dark. There's all these little post-apocalyptic things and soul-sucking creatures, but kids just seem to love it straight out. It's very colorful, and they just grasp it on that level.
I was watching an episode last night with my nieces, and Ben has a bunch of balloons, and he lets them go. And the balloons say, "Thank you, now we can go to die." And both of my nieces thought that was insanely hilarious. And I was like, wow, that's incredibly dark. But, you know, I think it's the opportunities in the marketplace right now for doing all ages content, it's wide open. You know, if you wanted to write, or you wanted to draw, or you wanted to publish material that, like in horror comics, well, you know, there's 30 Days a Night, Walking Dead, and, you know, whereas in all ages space, there's still a lot of possibilities, and there's a lot of excitement in that space and a lot of interest.
Now, Chris, you've done like all age, your own characters all age, and also knitting Marvels. You know?
Right.
And what's kind of the challenges in doing, you know, the classic superhero archetypes, but also kind of putting to the back of your head, you know, all the versions of them you've encountered getting older, getting darker, more comic, and just embracing that, you know, all ages aspect.
I didn't find it a challenge at all because I was just inspired by all the stuff that I was reading when I was growing up. So I was reading Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes, and the superhero books I was reading when I was growing up were all ages. So that's just kind of where my voice naturally is. It's like the language that I speak. So when it came time for me to draw mini Marvels, that's just how it was. I didn't think twice about like, oh, I wish I could do something dark and depressing. I just wanted to do something that was fun that everybody could read.
Well, it's usually because like the mini Marvels reflect so often, you know, the storylines of the Marvel universe. It takes them very dark, like Civil War, Super Invasion. Just make it fun.
Now, with all the different mediums that kids are going with today, like video games, movies, things like that, how do you think comics competes for their attention?
Very poorly. I think it's a matter of marketing to just, you know, mostly they're in comic book shops. And the average kid isn't going to just wander into a comic book shop. When we were kids growing up, comics were at supermarkets and, you know, corner stores. There are places that parents and kids would just ordinarily go, so they were everywhere. And now they're in specialty shops. So,
And it's not like newsstands are what they used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I noticed they used to have a pretty good monthly comic selection at Borders. Well, that was Borders. No longer with us.
Yeah, I will say, you know, for so long online, it's been like, the way that we're going to fix this is we're going to get comic books on the newsstand. And as a guy that got all ages comic books on the newsstand is so embattled. You know, I would look at the returns for the different locations, and a lot of times they would just take the comic books that we shipped them and just send them back all of them and never put them out. So, you know, the newsstand is a really embattled place. And the comic book stores sprang up in the 80s and saved the business because comic books back then were priced for kids. They were 35 cents. And Time magazine was $2.95, and it took up the same amount of space. So if you were running a 7-Eleven or a grocery store, you would want to wrap Time magazine, not superhero comic books or any comic books. Yeah. And so it was necessary for the medium to survive. But as we go forward, you know, it would be really great to find a way to get out of the comic book stores and get more into the casual places like comic books used to be, you know, in the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s.
Next question is, where do kids go? Where do kids?
How do you guys feel about webcomics?
Love webcomics.
Do you think that helps them kind of get into it?
Absolutely, the accessibility, but in certain ways the challenge is still there, which is if you don't know about it, how do you discover it? And what's nice about webcomics is the barrier to entry isn't $1 or $10 or, you know, whatever. It's you can email a URL to a friend. but it still has to be passed virally, whether that be through Facebook or Twitter or just emailing it to a friend.
They're also doing a really good job in libraries. I find a lot more young readers. They work in counter comics in libraries. Librarians and teachers are starting to understand and champion the idea of putting comics in front of kids now. So
yeah, I think a lot of that is that librarians understand what you were saying earlier, which is that kids read comics. Like they're easier to read to them when they're learning to read, and they're a lot more fun to read in a lot of cases than books. You know, I have my wife's little brother doesn't like to read much at all. He's very active. He likes to play video games and to watch movies. But like I brought over the Ultimate Spider-Man trades with you know the new stuff that Bendis is doing. And you know, it was a character he could relate to. It was an interesting story, and he just he sat down and read it cover to cover, the whole trade, and just, you know, went on to whatever he did.
If the content's good, it will find an audience. Marketing is an issue. So, you know, realistically, I mean, I have a good back smash, which I've got some complimentary copies. My middle son had just finished his baseball season. They were having a party, they were all full on cake and soda, bouncing off the walls. They had a great season. And one of the things I did was give them all a copy of the book. And he just went silent. I mean, literally from bouncing off the walls, climbing on tables, running around, he went silent. And all the kids had the nose of the book. So, you know, if it's something that engages them, you know, kids will read it. And then, you know, I like to say that comics are a gateway drug to literature.
Now, you guys, you know, you interact with kids and you have kids, so what are your favorite all-age comics and what are your kids' favorite all-age comics?
We actually have some slides that are just going to exit the show, and I can bring these up to
my favorite all ages comic is G-Man.
It's a good one.
Yeah, my daughter is 1, so she doesn't really have a favorite comic other than whatever's reachable. One of my favorites is Stuff of Legend. I'm a big fan of several studios, and I think Stuff of Legend is a little bit dark, but in not a way that a lot of the movies kids watch aren't. Has sort of that surreal aspect of the stuff I liked when I was a kid, and it I think captures that and turns it into a very compelling story.
I like to hype my own stuff, but unfortunately my middle son is a big G-Man fan as well. He's a gushing fanboy. Sitting on this panel, I have to, of course, talk about the super talented creators that we have here. So I would say their stuff, and then noticing the thin hats that we have in the audience, I have to say pictures.
Now, what I want to do, I want to get some questions, but I only want the kids to ask questions. I don't want me.
And by the way, there's a special bonus. Any kid, if you ask a question, we will give you a free comic book. This is that was actually made by us. This is the Chapel Chronicles. It's by Emma Capps, who is 15 years old, started since she was 13. It's been played by Scott McCloud, a lot of other great cartoonists. So if you ask a question, we'll get the special collection of the first 80 or so strips. They're really sweet and all ages. So. Yeah.
So, don't be shy.
Get the free comic.
Exactly. You can ask them their birthday, ask them their favorite color.
Ask Bid, please have that comic.
Exactly.
All right.
Don't people know what kind of comic it is? Like, you know the location of comic? We don't know the medium of comic. What is the nature of comic?
Could you kind of rephrase that a little bit? We're not sure what you mean.
Like, what is like the medium
on the
Japanese comics, yes. That's what they do stuff, they read books backwards and format books differently in Japan. So they read them like this instead of like this. It's just a different way they do it over there. They probably think we're very strange for the way we do. It's done over here. Free comic?
Alrighty, we're gonna go pink cat, and then we're gonna go gray and red jacket, and then back there. Okay?
What's the hardest thing of drawing a comic?
The hardest part of drawing.
Chris.
The hardest part of drawing comics is finding the time to sit and work without getting interrupted by the phone or the computer or your friends. Because it takes a long time, and some days it takes longer than others. But I guess that's about it. It's always tough. Anybody else want to add to that?
I do the writing part, so that can take a while as well, and that's I agree a lot with what Chris said, and also every once in a while you just don't know what a character is going to say in the next panel, and then it kind of stops it dead, so you get that writer's block occasionally.
I pay people to draw because I'm terrible at drawing.
I hear you.
Alright, the red and gray center.
Hey, my school has a graphic novel section in the library, and they have like a collection of comic books, and they have mangas, which I'm really into. One Piece is my favorite so far, and I was wondering, do you have any recommendations that I can talk to my school about getting?
G-Man.
G-Man is great. See, I've got a number of them comics here that I put as part of this, and I'm just hold on. I'm not used to this computer. Slide on. Yeah. Okay. We'll work me some later on.
I recommend kids in the picture. I'm gonna go and inspect Gadget Johnny Town.
I guess I'd have to go with Princeless.
Hey, he's really got his hand up high. Do you have a question?
Yes. First of all, are any of you signing autographs?
Yes, absolutely.
And secondly, I'm an experiment and I have a lot of creative and not that good at art, but I just find they work on the story or they're working on
They're both important. When I was your age, I wasn't happy with the way my drawings turned out, but I wanted to figure it out, so I kept working at it. So it takes a lot of practice. So if you enjoy drawing, then I would say to continue. But if you find that you don't like it, then maybe find a friend that can draw stuff for you. You write the story that you wrote.
Yeah, that's what I did. I focused on writing stories, and not only was I not a good artist, it just frustrated me. It made me angry trying to get what I wanted onto the page. So I just settled for writing what I wanted to do, and found a friend who could illustrate it for me.
So there's no right or wrong way to draw something. If you draw it and it looks the way you want it, then it's right.
One more.
Adventure Time is a great example of that.
Okay, back there, green bracelet.
why did you write on the Adventure Time?
Well, I actually publish Adventure Time. So what we do is we hire a guy to write it, and he wanted to write it because he loves the show. And he thinks that the show is extremely funny and gets a kick out of it. And so he is a very, very talented web cartoonist who does his own cartoon on the web.
That means the guy that writes the comic isn't the same people that write the cartoon show?
That's correct. It's different.
A lot of people who do work on comics work on the show itself.
That's true.
How do you break in?
You just kind of how you break
Start working or start reading or start working. When I was in college, I had a school newspaper published comic strips, and I just started submitting my own comic strips that I drew, and they published them. And while I was in college, I applied for an internship at Marvel Comics, which is an internship is a job that you probably don't get paid for, but you get to learn how everything works. And so for a summer, I worked at Marvel Comics, and I met a lot of people, and I showed them my work, and eventually they started stuff. But there's a lot of other ways besides that. Internships is my top recommendation.
Just do it. Do it for your own entertainment. Do it for your own fun.
Yeah, that's how I started out. I wrote, a script for something I wanted to get done. I teamed up with a friend to do it. We basically got it, we self-published it. We basically just paid somebody to print it for us. And we started going to shows and selling it and talking to people that own stores. And, from there I had another idea I wanted to do. And that one we ended up actually getting a small press, some guys who were publishing comics to get behind us and print it and send it out for us, and that's a little bit easier than doing all of that yourself. They handle a lot of the good stuff, and you can always talk to Ross over here because he does that part of it. So.
Yes.
In the back, definitely got to keep on the chair there in the black shirt.
Why can't there be glowing comics on ducks?
I'm sorry, can't hear. Could you maybe come a little closer? Once you go.
Why can't there be comics on ducks?
There are comics on the duck.
On ducks, you say?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't tell you.
I would read a comic book that was on a duck. But I think you're asking about Nook, the Nook reader. And I know e-readers. I know the Boom library is on the Nook.
There's also like digital comics you can go for DC and Marvel, and those are ones you download. Some of them you have to pay, some of them you don't. I know they work for the iPad, and I think they have one for the Kindle, but I'm not sure about Nook because that's specific to Barnes & Noble mostly. So you might be able to go on the Barnes & Noble site and see if you can download digital comics from it.
Yeah, I know Princeless is on the Nook. Anything that
Is it on the duck?
no, it's not on the duck yet.
I can't think you know that any Donald Duck or Uncle Scrooge comics.
I think that is an underserved market.
Oh.
By the way,
Charles.
Schultz. Charles Schultz. Yeah, so what Charles Schultz, one of the things that's interesting about Peanuts is that it was one of the first comic strips that merchandised itself. So we've all seen the MetLife commercials that they do, and they have lots of toys and different merchandise and t-shirts and things. And so when Charles passed away, he made a rule, and the rule was that no one will ever be allowed to do the comic strip. And so in the world of comic strips, there's a lot of them like Dick Tracy, where when the creator passes away, they pass the comic strip to a new creative team. And like Dick Tracy for a long time, for like 40, 50 years, has had a bunch of different writers and artists continuing the story. Well, Charles made sure that no one will ever do Peanuts comic strips. But when it comes to comic books, his widow was just fine with having some new talent come in. And then one of the inkers that we have on the series was actually Charles's assistant. And when she inks the stories, she actually uses the pen nibs that Charles gave her. So it's a little touch of Charles Schultz in our Peanuts comics. Good question.
Very good question.
What's the idea? Where did the idea of Adventure come from?
That would have to be Pendleton Ward who created the show. Would have to be there to answer that one.
I asked Pendleton that question, and he said that he played too much D&D.
I have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, which, by the way, if you're asking where do ideas come from, you know, you should think, and I'm not a writer, and I have three guys that are more creative than me to my right, but do the things that you really enjoy and have a lot of fun doing them, and they have a tendency to give you ideas.
Very good question.
Well, there are girls writing comics. As far as all ages comics, you don't, oddly enough, there's not a lot of girls writing all ages comics, but you're going to get people like Gail Simone, who does Batgirl right now. Kelly Sue. So, I mean, you have women in comics, but it is a smaller portion of it. You really have to get out there and look sometimes.
I think it's because women don't care about kids the way we do.
I would like to interject and say we do a series called Marceline and the Scream Queens, which is written and drawn by one of Paige Braddock and Vicky Scott do our Peanuts comics, and so we actually have a lot of women that do our all ages comics.
Never did the uninteresting.
I stand corrected.
And while I write Princeless, all of the artists I've worked with on it are all female. Both the series that's out right now and one's coming out have female artists, and we did a collection of short stories, which one half of it is out now, and those are all girls illustrating those as well. So there's a lot of them out there. It's sometimes a little harder to find.
More and more. Every month that goes by, there's more ladies doing comics.
Sure, I retract my previous statement.
And there's a lot of female comic book artists, like Brian K. Vaughan works with a few, and then Fiona Staples. But if you want to look for women in comic books, definitely look for women artists, and just do your research. Do your research there, and
There's the whole womanthology one that IW puts out.
yeah, but I wouldn't.
Don't female authors.
Well, it's all female authors, but I wouldn't classify it as all female.
Well, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just read a great comic called Friends with Boys, written and illustrated by Kate Aaron Hicks.
She's fantastic.
She's great, brilliant writer artist. That's up to first, second books, which has a lot of great all-ages books. Got some good recommendations.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, right there.
What would you say is your favorite superhero?
Cyclops, dude, the lasers that come out of his eyes. Come on.
This is a tough one, but I'm going to say G-Man.
You're all about the hustle, and I like that.
It's like all I can think about.
And that's a good way to get into comics.
Yes.
I would have to go with kind of big toe ear Spider-Man. For me, one of the cool things about Spider-Man of that time was I could totally relate to that guy. He was the kind of guy who didn't really fit in, and yet really he was the coolest guy ever. Only when he was Spider-Man.
With me on that one.
Sniper, bad guys, the whole 9 yards. You know, that for me really probably got me into comics.
I have trouble answering this question.
It's a G-Man.
I could say. Actually, my favorite to read has been Storm. Storm is always one of my favorite characters.
Cyclops has got lasers.
I also changed the weather. All of it.
And I think we forgot one of the best females in comics, I'm sorry, Amanda Connor, and she actually does a web series with Wonder Woman right now that's kid friendly, so definitely look that up. But Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, when you get older, but yeah, they do some kid stuff too, so definitely look for that. Oh yeah, there was no more kids, right? Oh, there you go. I'm gonna Reverse flash, Professor Blue.
Sweet. I like Lex Luthor because Superman is handsome, he can fly, bolts bounce off him, and super strong, goes through space and everything. And Lex Luthor is just a regular bald human being, and Superman is afraid of him.
Yeah.
Anything.
Dr. Doom.
What good was it taken? G-Man? No. I would actually, mine is kind of a tie characters that I think are similar in two universes. I'm a big fan of both Loki and Joker because neither of them they're not bad. Like they don't want anything. Like the Joker doesn't really want anything. He just likes to create chaos, you know. So he's unpredictable, and I think that's possibly the scariest thing a bad thing can be.
I'm going to go with Dr. Clark and Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
I can do
Now that
that.
you've seen the action figure that reveals his face, he stops being scared when he sees his face.
It's totally Magneto for me because you know the thing about Magneto is that he's almost right. Pretty close.
I guess we can start with you. So,
You mentioned before a couple times trades. I don't know what that is.
Trade paperbacks, they're collected edition.
Yeah, it's a collected form of the individual comic books. And sometimes you'll hear the term original graphic novel, and what that means is they skipped serializing its comic books and just went to the book.
you right there.
What would you recommend for beginner readers, like 5 years old?
G-Man.
I was like strong food out there.
The Super Friends, which they don't do anymore, but Tiny Titans.
Oh, I have an illustration of that.
And anything by Art Balthazar.
Yeah, Art Balthazar and Franco do some of the all-time. They do these great comics for kids. They design them at the speed of light, practically. Where is my? I put Tiny Titans. See, aren't they adorable, folks? And there are collections available in the dealer's room. So you find retailers as alternate comics.
In trade paperback form.
Yeah.
I'd also say Peanuts.
And Hero Cats. Which is available on my
Hero Cats are cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Q, and I'm gonna say Princeless actually, because it is.
That's pretty self-serving. I'm sorry to call you out in front of everyone. Come on, man, pull it back a little bit.
You know, I try not to promote myself too much, but you know, it's a pretty universal story. It's easy to understand, I guess, for kids, and it takes a story that they're familiar with of, you know, the princess being locked in the tower and sort of turns on its head, goes its own way, and it's kind of fun action adventure out of that.
I was just going to ask for fun.
Some expectations for
Recommendations, G-Man, yeah. On all honesty, G-Man, yeah. I mean, that reiterates Tiny Titans.
What other comic groups have you worked for? Have you worked for Archie or whatever movie that you're from?
I've worked for Marvel and Image.
The only one I've really worked for, other than just, you know, my self-publishing stuff, is Action Lab, which is the small press that does Princeless. So nobody else yet. I'm a slacker that way.
The books that I've been talking about are two private comics, but I'm certainly open to offers for good.
So I don't write and draw, I publish at my company Spoon. So I actually did a comic book almost 10 years ago through Image.
What was it called?
Dominion. We did like 2 issues. Yeah.
Right. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Superman.
Other published there.
Okay, go through a few recommendations now that we're going to.
And I'm going to do lightning fast.
Speed run.
Yes, exactly. Okay, guys, aside from the fine books that we've had recommended here,
I would recommend Gina.
thank you. Finally, someone's singing. G-Man. Okay, and these are some books for all ages. Well, there's some of the boom books you can get out there. But you can see Princeless, G-Man, Inspector Gadget, Snark. Boom books is Adventure Time, Snark, Garfield, Peanuts, and here's some different ones. For DC Comics, here's Gone. It's a wordless Japanese comic about a little dinosaur that encounters different animals. It's hilarious, and the art is crazy detail.
One of my favorites ever.
Yeah, it is co-published in DC's CMX imprint. Owlie is from Top Shelf. It's another wordless comic about the most adorable little owl you've ever seen. It's so sweet, really heartwarming, very fun. Top Shelf Comics, yet again, at retailers all over here, including Ultimate Comics. Mickey Mouse, the classic comics by Floyd Gottfredson. They're great adventure comics with a lot of humor to them. So do the Karl Marx, Donald Duck, and Uncle Scrooge stories being reprinted for Fantagraphics right now. Those were the inspiration for the DuckTales cartoon, so if any of the adults can remember that, that's where they came from. Calvin and Hobbes, everyone knows that. Barnaby is a great strip by the guy who did the book Harold and the Purple Crown. It's being written by Fantagraphics. There's one of the major inspirations for Calvin Hobbes. It comes out next year. The Lumens are like Disney big in Scandinavia. The classic comics are still reprinted and drawn quarterly. Also check out the original books. They're beloved by people like Neil Gaiman, whole generations. Love the Lumens. Kiko, great all ages comic, but also series of illustrated novels by Mark Crowley. Very easy to find. They're published in series, and I think they're doing some reprints. Don't quote me. Bone by Jeff Smith, bit of a duh. Great combination of Lord of the Rings and cartoon style action. Printed from cartoon books and individual color volumes from Scholastic. You can read the whole story at once or get individuals. Popeye from IDW by Roger Langridge. He's done a lot of stuff with KABOOM. This is more of the classic comic strip version than what you've seen in the cartoons, but it's still hilarious. Tons of gags on every page. The Abominable Charles Christopher Eisner award-winning webcomic. It's about kind of a big Yeti, Bigfoot type creature that wanders through a forest with encountering talking animals. It's at abominable.cc. I'm getting to wrap it up, so I'll just do 5 more real quick. Little Lulu by John Stanley from Dark Horse, classic. Tintin, probably saw a movie last year. Asterix and Obelix, Legendary over Europe. This is the Wormworld Saga. It's a gorgeous webcomic, wormworldsaga.com. They only put you a few times a year, but it looks like this. Wormworld, W-O-R-M-W-R-O-D, Saga. This is Max Overact, kind of a Calvin Hobbes inspired webcomic. Occasionalcomics.com. Lloyd Bates is an actor. Western Fox from strips. Cul-de-sac Break newspaper strip. Reprinted. This is more weird, eclectic one. Cartoon Network stuff, Tiny Titans, Mega Man from Archie, great comic, Amelia Wolves, Cowboy, this is very fun, Marquea, about a little boy who grabs the ball's outlaw family. Okay, I gotta go, we're gonna be here all day. Comics!
Alright, but a few more that you know to mention. A lot of kids who are introduced to those are not easy. They have a comic out for it. It's friendly.
It's in there. I just get to
super adorable. So I really think that. And also something to have, usually if you're a comic book store has a kids section, you're gonna find like Pride and Prejudice and things like that in comic book form. And I have 2 7-year-old daughters, and they both really like that stuff. I can't get them to sit through things like that. I can't sit down and read that to them, but they read that and they kind of relate to it. It's very kind of romantic stuff, but it's in comic form. So that's something that might be really cool.
Got a last one here. Let's get back to the next panel's already lined up.
Let's get one of the kids to pick this. You want to pick a ticket? Just reach in and pull one out. Let's see what we got here. Number 534507. 534507. Come on up. Congratulations.
You know what? I can help it.
You should pick G-Man.
It's recording.
Gosh.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.